Article 1, Section 1 of the United States Constitution vests, quote, all legislative powers, close quote, in Congress. However, even after the landmark decision in West Virginia versus EPA, some agencies continue to act well outside the bounds Congress instructed them to follow. Inherent in those constitutional powers is the power to conduct oversight. The Supreme Court has held and reaffirmed that Congress has the power to conduct oversight to, quote, secure needed information, close quote, in order to legislate. Let me remind everyone paying attention this morning, our subcommittee should and will continue to conduct oversight where needed. And with all due respect to Ms. Barbero, it's not up to the General Counsel's office or Chair Gensler to decide what those investigations are. Ms. Barbero, ultimately, the buck stops with you, and we have the chair as well. And as Chief Legal Officer, it is your job to make sure the SEC complies with our requests. Given your extensive experience sitting on this side of the dais, I know, frankly, or suspect that you would never have allowed an agency to stonewall Congress or you or your bosses the way that it appears it's been done for the last 6 months. But let's not for a second pretend that this unresponsiveness has always been the case for the SEC. Under Chair Gensler, the SEC's unresponsiveness to committees' requests has been extremely slow and limited in comparison to that of previous chairs. Where past chairs have been quick to respond to Congress, in contrast, Chair Gensler, and by extension you, have continued to miss deadlines, offer no accommodations, blame staff shortages, budget deficiencies, and bureaucratic obstacles. When committee staff receive documents claiming to be, quote, responsive, as the chair had put a couple of weeks ago, the SEC either failed to acknowledge the questions actually being asked or provided mostly publicly available documents. To put this in perspective, let me provide you with some statistics. For our request in the SEC's climate disclosure rule, 80% of all of the documents that you produced to date are all publicly available. In fact, a portion of those documents were previously provided to FOIA requesters. But wait, it gets worse. In response to the committee's request to better understand the charges against former FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried, 100% of the documents that you provided are publicly available. And to be sure, the SEC's slow and limited responses to congressional requests isn't for a lack of resources or experience. The SEC oversees 24 national security exchanges, 9 credit rating agencies, 7 registered clearing agencies, and the activities of 29,000 registered agencies, including investment advisors, broker-dealers that collectively employ over 1 million people in the United States. To imply that they cannot respond to Congress in a timely manner is an insult to our institution and frankly embarrassing for yours. It should be noted that during the failure of multiple banks which they oversee and while working to manage the fallout, the Federal Reserve, the FDIC, and other regulators have been perfectly capable of providing important documents, testimony, and access to documents. The SEC is an outlier. Under Chair Gensler, the SEC has prioritized rewriting every corner of our capital markets, proposing 46 rules since the start of his tenure, many with far-reaching implications that will upend decades of precedents and have little economic analysis to justify their existence. Under Chair Gensler, the SEC has prioritized regulation by enforcement in the name of protecting investors. Under Chair Gensler, the SEC has completely ignored its mission to promote capital formation, instead opting to create confusion that will ultimately hurt innovation and entrepreneurs who seek access to our markets. At today's hearing, you'll hear countless instances where the chair and his staff have failed to respond to member inquiries, often with complete disregard to the questions being asked. This isn't a unique request that have come from myself or Chairman McHenry. These issues have persisted on both sides of the aisle. Ms. Barbero, this hearing could have and should have been avoided. But what other choice do we have when the SEC, your boss, and you, by extension, continue to be uncooperative and unresponsive? In May, I sent you a letter that indicated, this was to you, that indicated that this committee was prepared to take the necessary steps to get the information we have sought as part of our constitutional right, our obligation, I would say, to provide oversight of the executive branch. Rest assured that if these obstructions continue, we'll be seeing many more of your colleagues before our subcommittee in the future. So I look forward to hearing your testimony today. I hope that you will be open, transparent with us, and I yield back the balance of my time.